So now we'll continue with the general walk around on the outside inspection. We're looking at the front of the bus. We're looking to see that it's sitting level, that we don't see any odd shifts. I'm taking a look at the front bumper. The front bumper appears to be connected, non-damaged, and is safe to operate. That the license plate is firmly connected. Looking through a radiator, making sure there's no damage or issues through the front. Looking at all the lenses, making sure that they're in place and that the plastic isn't cracked, or if there's glass, the glass isn't cracked, that our mirrors are firmly connected to the bus. And so we pretty much just start working our way around. As I'm going around, I'm looking to see all the marker light lenses are in place. It used to be a school bus, and our warning flasher lights are blacked out. Looking at the windshield for any kind of damage, windshield wipers, anything I can see from the outside. Checking the mud flaps, making sure the mud flaps are firmly connected to the vehicle. As I come around, just mentioning that, okay, there's an antenna, it's firmly connected to the vehicle. The mirrors are firmly connected to the vehicle. Every time I see a reflective lens, I'm looking that it's one in front of the rear axle in proper color, being amber. Also amber, it's in good shape, firmly connected. As I go past the windows, I'm making sure the windows are all in place and in good condition. Looking at body panels, making sure body panels are firmly connected and we don't have any missing bolts. Here we happen to be coming across the battery tray, so we would open that up and we're going to look inside, and if the batteries are not maintenance free, which these happen to be maintenance free, then we would be looking for that all the caps were on and that it was good, no excessive corrosion at any of the battery terminal connections, and that the batteries are firmly connected and held down in the battery compartment.
Okay.
So then as we continue along, we are also going to start kind of doing an under the bus along with the side of the bus inspection. So we're going to be looking underneath at the exhaust system, making sure that it's firmly connected, that you don't have any holes or leaks. I'm looking at we're doing a pre-trip inspection. We're training. So,
it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
We'll let you know if we find.
I had to bring the portable welder over.
So then we talk about looking at the frame for any kind of cracks, any kind of issues. The drive line, the U-joints, making sure that those appear to be in good condition. There's catch pieces, and I don't remember the technical term, making sure that those connection parts for if the U-joints went bad and the drive shafts fell, that those are in place and there if needed.
Okay.
We're also looking at the underside of the bus, that we don't have any excessive rust or holes, that the frame members are all good. We got cross members that connect each side of the frame, making sure they're firmly connected, not shiny like they're shifting around. We continue our way back on the bus here, and this is where we're getting to tires that have been retread or recapped, and so you can see by the abrasion on the sides and how these have been put on, and there's generally a separate stamp that indicates that they're hot caps, which can only be used for rear applications. So in this case, we'd be looking to see, is it separating where it's been like the adhesive from the old to the new coating on it.
Okay.
So now we want to kind of repeat the same rear axle information as we're talking about the front axle in relationship to the springs. We're looking at the spring stack, looking at the shackles, we're looking at the rear axle. We always are talking about looking for leaks. If we could see brake lines, do we see any leaks in the brake lines? We can't really see them from this side. They're on the inside of this frame. We'll see them when we get to the other side. We want to say that the U-bolts that hold the leaf spring to the axle are in place, not broken, and in good condition. We can see the rim for the other side. Talk about the rim again. Look at the inside of that tire across the way, because we can see that pretty good. As we get up into here, we're repeating the same thing about looking at the lug nuts, making sure that they're all in place, that they don't have any kind of issues showing problems. Same thing with the rear axle seal. No leaks. This is where we would check the air for the outer tire. Then this is where we would check the air for the inner tire. You can also look through the center of the tire and see the rear disc and see that it's being used by the brakes. It's shiny. This is a spacer that's between the two rims. We're looking for anything shiny that would be in here, indicating movement between the two rims, and it would be an issue, and we wouldn't want to use the bus if we were to see that kind of an issue. So get back here, we can see the rear shackle and the rear mud flap, and we want to just make sure the mud flap's firmly connected.
What's the rear shackle?
The rear shackle for the leaf springs, right through there.
Okay.
Then, as we get a little further back here, we can kind of come in and you can see the rear axle a whole lot better. Come in kind of far, yep. And so we're looking at both of those shocks, left and right, the yellow shocks. Looking at the back side of those U-bolts, looking at the spring stack. We don't see any cracked springs. We're looking at the cross member here while we're back here, which is just above the rear axle a little bit and closer to us. We're also looking at the brake lines that go over the rear axle, looking for any leaks, cracks, breaks. We're looking at the inside of the tires for gouges, tears, cuts, and along with any of the brake components that we can see. So far everything is looking usable for this particular trip and should be all right.
Okay.
And I'm continuing on with looking underneath the chassis for excessive rust or rotted out components, and we're still in good shape. So then we'll keep coming to the back here. Now, all along as we're coming, there was one more marker light. We want to make sure we point to all the marker lights.
Top.
Yep, and also we passed, as we're on the ground, we passed the emergency exit. And you want to mention that the emergency exit is clearly marked on the side of the bus and works. Here we've got a red reflector lens, and it's not cracked, it's firmly connected. There's a rear red marker light. The glass on that looks to be in good condition. We're coming around the back side of the bus. The back side of the bus, we're looking at all the lens covers, making sure they're firmly connected. The backup lights, our rear reflectors, our license plates firmly connected. Our bumper appears to be firmly connected. Our glass continues to be in good condition. Looking at the marker lights, they could use a little bit of a cleaning on the paint. Other than that, they're acceptable for this trip. My rear emergency exit door is clearly marked. We want to just see that we open the door and that the gasket is in place and in good condition, and that the door locks when we close it. And it does not open. Our hitch, in this particular case, we would just check to see that our hitch is firmly connected to the vehicle, and it is. Again, continuing with the lights, even though we checked one side, we have to check both sides, making sure everything's firmly connected. Now a little further on, we'll actually be turning on lights and actually checking light function, but right now those two are a separate walk around.
Okay.
Our rear old school bus lights are also blacked out. So then as we continue around, we're finding a lot of the same components, talking about the red reflectors, the marker lights, we're looking at the windows, body panels. We're going to just take a brief look underneath, because now we can see the other side of the frame that we couldn't see before, and it's in good condition. You can see the other side of the cross member, and so that's pretty good there.
Same thing on the rim and the tires and brake line from this side.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then as we're coming across the back here, come to the tire. When we do get to the rear tires, we do want to make sure that we have a minimum of, the fronts were a minimum of 4 32nds, the rears are a minimum of 2 32nds of an inch of tread. So again, we're looking at the rim again, talking about the same stuff, the lug nuts, the seal, where you fill up with the air, looking through at the brake pad, spacer, shininess, looking for shininess. Everything is checking out here. We have an opportunity to see the front of the passenger side axle front leaf spring shackle, and we can see that, and that's in good shape. The bolts for that are holding in good condition. We back to some more lenses again. We have another clearly marked emergency exit on this side of the bus, one on each side. And again, all our glass is looking really good. Now as we get up into this area, this is where our fuel tank zone is.
Okay.
And so what we need to do when we talk about the fuel tank is that there's this protective cage that protects the fuel tank, and we said that cage, we look it over, make sure it's in good condition, no issues. The tank itself is in good shape, there's no drips, totally usable condition. Any fuel lines we can see, we mentioned that we're looking at those and that they're not leaking. We got a little better view of the exhaust on this side. We're taking a look at that side of the exhaust, making sure there's no holes, it's not falling down, the brackets are connected. So here, I need to grab the keys, which I think I have in my pocket, and we are gonna check the fuel level if we can get into it. Well, I don't have those keys on me apparently, but they're in the slide there. We would reach in, we would grab the cap, we make sure the cap is firmly connected on the tank, and that there's no issues in that area there, and then we would then say that it passed. Any lenses we come across, we talk about them, make sure we say they're good condition. We're gonna finish coming up the side here. We didn't talk about these lenses here on this side, to make sure that these are good. Our mirrors are firmly connected. The lens is in good shape. Then, before we open the doors, talk about the doors of the bus, that we can open the doors from the outside of the bus, and that we can close them firmly from the outside. Talk about the glass of the doors being in good condition, that the gaskets for the doors is in good condition. Now, before we even step foot on the bus, we have to talk about the steps in the bus, and that there's no trip hazards, that there's a handle on the side here for people to use to get in. There's a little light to the right. You want to talk about that little light, the lens cover, is in good condition, and when we do our bus light check, our running light check, make sure that lights up. So this